And on behalf of the International Longshoremen Association, I would like to welcome all of you here this morning for this very, very important event. First, I would like to recognize our dignitaries that are here. State Senator Margaret Rose Henry. Stephanie T. Bowman, State Representative. Cyril Poverty. Mayor Dennis Williams. County Councilman Penrose Allen. County Councilman Bill Powers. State Representative J.J. Johnson. And State Representative Gerald Brady. I would like to thank all of you for coming here. And I'm sorry, Charles Potter Jr. I'm sorry. The Mayor of Newcastle, that's right, I'm sorry, the Mayor of Newcastle, McDonald. I'd like to, again, thank you all for coming. And just to give a little background to this, because a lot of you know we came to you about, I think in 2008, 2009, talking about the deepening project. The deepening project was the first phase of where we are now. Because the deepening project allowed us to begin to look forward to the anticipation and taking advantage of the larger ships that are going to be coming up the Delaware and up the Atlantic coast because of the Panama Canal expansion and the Suez Canal expansion. And we had to get out on the Delaware River with a port on the Delaware River because on the Christiana River there were certain limitations that we just could not accommodate those vessels. And again, like I said, this is phase 2. I first began to think about, ILA began to think about the need for this, many years ago. And we were faced with a situation where we had to get out of Delaware or we would probably die, because the shipping industry was changing, the cargo was changing toward containers, and we had to begin to look at that. In July of 2013, we asked the question, when I say we, I mean the ILA, myself, the officers of 1694 and other officers at the Port of Wilmington. Why? When can we get a container port or facility built at the Port of Wilmington? I'm a little nervous, and y'all have to stay with me because I'm not used to speaking. But anyway, and the facility and the grounds on the existing Port of Wilmington, we were limited in terms of expansion because of certain factors on the Delaware side that would take probably from 10 to 15 or maybe more years for the land to be ready. And so I began to just on my own to search for alternative places to build a port. And going up, and this is how it went. Riding over the Delaware Morgan Bridge from New Jersey to Wilmington. I went over there to play my numbers. I don't know if I should tell you that. Coming back to Delaware, I looked to my right, and there was all this land going past Fox Point, up further up through 495, and I rode up there, with the idea of looking for some space that I could, give a suggestion. Well, let's get a suggestion we can build a port here. And while I was looking at the land on north of Fox Point Park, and I said, oh, this is a pretty good stretch of land. And then all of a sudden, zoom, Amtrak, the Metro line zoomed past me. I said, uh-oh, I said, it can't be here. Because, as I looked at access to 495, I said, okay, we got a Metro line running, so we can't end here. So thought about the South, and I said, I came across the bridge, looking to the left and seeing all this green land. And I rode down Cherry Lane and rode down, if anybody knows that area, Probation and Parole is down there in Cherry Lane, you know, and then I took that right and went all the way around and seeing all this stretch of land. And so, having a relationship with County Executive Tom Gordon, I thought that was the county's, and I thought the county owned it. So I asked him, I said, do you guys own that land? He said, I don't know. He said, I'm gonna go check it out though. He said, I'm gonna find out who owns that land. Because him and I had been talking, and he was in agreement with the fact that there was a lot of jobs being lost because of GM and Chrysler, Delaware City had lost jobs, that we had to find some plan in some way to bring back, you know, good paying blue collar jobs. And I suggested him a report, and he said, I'm interested. He said, I'm interested in that, and I gave him a lot of material to read on the shipping industry because he said, I don't know anything about shipping, give me enough stuff to read, and I'll study it and I'll get back to you. So I gave him piles and piles of information on shipping trends, you know, the economic impact of ports in different areas of the country. And he read it, came and said, I'm ready. He said, this sounds good, it sounds great. He said, this could solve our unemployment problems that we have because we lost those other plans. And with that, I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to bring you up, bring Tom Gordon up here.
And that man, I can tell you, is a genius. Almost from the first day of office, he's been talking about this port, and it took me months before I could get our computer to be able to push the button. But it all started when GM was up for sale, and I thought, you know, this might be our last hope. I had a study done right after taking office showing that we've lost most or all of our manufacturing jobs, all of our livable wages jobs that were becoming a service economy. And this study said you had two opportunities, and I can show it to you. It was like early 13, it said the port in Delaware City. So with Komodo saying, who owns that land? We said we cannot let GM, with 10 rails behind it, with an entrance of 495 on the front, become anything but something that's attached to high-paying jobs in the Port of Wilmington. GM is railed to the Port of Wilmington. So we said the way to protect it is to try to buy it. We called it, Chinese company would put in an offer. Got a call from them just before I came here. They want us to meet in Illinois in 2 weeks. But getting beyond that, the next day I get a visit from Tomoko, Booty Jack, and they're saying, what are you doing with that, GM? So whatever it is, it's got to do with the port. You want to combine the two together. We have nothing left in this state. And I guarantee you, if we add hundreds of thousands, if we add thousands of jobs, you'll reduce the crime in the city of Wilmington 80, 90% overnight. I spent 23 years as a police officer, police chief, FBI Academy, SBI Academy, every academy in the world. I can tell you that's a fact, and Dennis Williams will tell you that's what's wrong with his city, that he lost all those jobs. So it wasn't a rocket scientist to say, well, who owns that land? We brought it up on a computer, we hit the button, Nicky Ferreira. Now, I don't know, is Nicky here yet? Can Nicky stand up? Now, he's the kid, you know. I don't want to put too much pressure on him. But this guy, I said, can you meet me down on your land, which is owned by Newcastle City, regulated. I said, can you meet me down on your land? I'm bringing some friends. And he walked there and he said, I never knew I owned all this for a Now, he never knew he owned. And I said to him, I didn't lie, I said, you may have a gold mine here. Because if what I'm hearing is true, this is going to be the #1 port in the country, and at least in the United States, and I've taken my reputation on this. The study got done, the study was paid for by the longshoremen, and the study you're going to see is lowballing everything. The numbers are impeachable. There are no regulations or roadblocks that could stop this. And if this gets done, it gets done quickly. Immediately, you get the AFL-CIO building it, and within 2 years, you have shippers from all over the world coming here first. and I stake my reputation. I will resign if what I'm telling you is not true. So I don't want to do any more at this point, but to turn it over to the president, the #1 guy.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks for everybody showing up. It goes back to a little bit further when we started the project about deepening the Delaware back in 2008. And everybody can remember we was going up and down the state trying to get support to get the Delaware to 45 feet so we can bring the largest ships into the port of Wilmington. So then we checked into when they was doing the dredging, and we found out that the dredging, when they started the dredging project, certain liners wasn't put in for dredging. So most of the dirt that you see out by the auto berth, most people know when they go over Delaware Memorial Bridge, they'll see that brown dirt over there. And we went to the Corps and we asked them, when do you think that'll be ready? And we found out it'll be 20 to 30 years if it ever be developed. And I said, if it'll ever be developed. So what Komoko is saying is, then he called me one day and said, come on, take a ride with me. I said, man, what are you doing? I'm busy. I got to do some other stuff. He said, just come on. So we rode down to Cherry Lane. He took me out there. I said, well, you know what, Komoko? I said, let's find out who owns the land, which Nikki owns the land, and then we started doing some research. I said, well, hold on. We got to get approval and we got to get the top people in here. If we're going to do this, we're not trying to embarrass anybody, but we're going to do it right. We're going to get the best of the best that knows how to do a study. So at that point, I went to the international. I got my 2 international officials here, Bob Gladden, which is the ACD, Jim Taylor, which is the international vice president. And I went to them and I said, look, we need some money. He said, what do you mean? I said, we need some money to get a study done by Paul Richardson. I said, if we don't get it done by the best around the world, it's going to fail. And I said, and we're not paying anybody to make it right or wrong. We want the truth to be done on this project so to come out and people can ask any question they want and they'll get the truth, and it won't be, well, we're trying to hide something or we're trying to do this. We want it to be done professionally and done by the right people. So I went to them and the international crew said, okay, we'll take care of this and we'll pay for it. What do you need? We want a container facility so we can create jobs for Delawareans and other people because it's going to be a widespread sector. It's just not for the longshoremen. I don't want anybody in here to think we're just creating jobs for longshoremen. It's a spinoff of every sector, and whether you're union or non-union, it's a spinoff of every sector. I'm not just talking about ILA, I'm talking about a spinoff for every sector in the job market because we also talked to Tom about the distribution center. And I went to Tom, I said, hold it, what are you going to do with GM? I said, because you can take and put a distribution center there, put 3 shifts in there. I said, they won't be making $25 or $30 an hour, but $15 to $20 an hour will sustain a family. I said, you put people to work. I said, Delaware's hurting. We done lost everything. We got to get people involved again in going to work and helping their families and taking care of their families, because when GM closed and Chrysler closed, most of the people there are sitting home. How can I tell an 18-year-old something and I don't have a job to do anything with? And he's sitting home trying to figure out, can I go to school? My parents can't afford it, so what am I going to do? So these are some of the things that we looked at before we ever got started. And then I started asking questions because I deal with the stevedores every day. And the Port of Wilmington, and it's not going to take 1 ounce of work from the Port of Wilmington. All we're trying to do is enhance shipper to say, look, we got 2 spots you can look at. You got the Port of Wilmington, which right now, most people know that work at the Port of Wilmington. We're landlocked. And what I mean by that, we can't bring any other cargo in here because they don't have any space. The state said they don't have money. That's not a knock on the governor, so don't anybody take it the wrong way. They just don't have the money to put in the budget to do it. So we figured, okay, if we can get a container facility south of the port now, then shippers will say, look, wait a minute, we got another alternative. I had 2 shippers tell us last week, and one of the stevedores went down Richmond on Wednesday to try to draw work here. People that know on the Diamond State Board that we might lose Chiquita in the next 5 years if we don't do something. It's no myth, it's just the true facts. If Paulsburg get up and running, there's a good chance that we can lose Chiquita. And there we would lose roughly 460 jobs. And that's direct jobs. I'm not talking about indirect with the truckers and the other spinoff on it. So what we did, to make a long story short, is we brought Paul Richardson and Ed Zimmer to come in to do a study. And I asked everyone, once he do his presentation, anybody that has questions, can you hold him off until he finished? He'll answer any question that needs to be answered. And feel free to ask him anything you want to ask him, he'll answer. Paul, Ed?